To Celebrity Radio, it's Alex Belfield talking to some of the biggest stars in the world and some of my favourite people, and we've got one for you today. Dennis Locorriere is the man behind Dr.Hook. Their mega hits have been entertaining the world audiences for hundreds of years, it feels like, as long as my career's been on the air, and these are great songs performed by magical artists. Dennis, really lovely to talk to you. How are you?
Thank you, Alex. And you know, it has been hundreds of years. That wasn't even inaccurate. It's been a couple of hundred years, you know.
Let's just go back. When was the first time you stood on a stage?
First time I stood on a stage when I was a kid, maybe about 12 to 13. I remember sitting in playing drums with a blues band, a black blues band, and my mom knew some of the guys, and they let me play drums with them. So that's I didn't sing or anything, but that's my first memory of being on a stage. And then bars, you know, I mean, when I was old enough to sneak into bars, I would just sit in with bands and play drums, play bass, play harmonica. It's how I met Ray and George, that we started Dr.Hook together. You know, I wandered in, and they had come up from down south, and they were playing in the bandbox, this place I had sat in with a million bands, and now I was sitting in with these guys, and this one happened to develop into something, you know.
It is extraordinary that all those years ago you created this music, and then in 2016 you're back performing it, and audiences still want to hear it. These songs are timeless. Sylvia's Mother and Only 16, a little bit more, and of course my favourite that I've enjoyed playing so many times over the years, When You're in Love with a Beautiful Woman. Just great pop songs, aren't they?
You know, we must have done something right for it to still be around. You know, my eyes got open to it all. Believe me, I was always aware, and I am always aware of my history with Dr. Hook. I'm reminded of it daily, you know, and in a good way. But in 2014, you know, well, I went on after Hook to just write and do some solo things and try to do things that were far afield from Hook, not to try to supersede it or to make anybody forget about it, but to still have a pulse, to feel like I was still here now, and not to end up resenting the thing that should mean so much to me, you know. So I just went on and I forged ahead and did a lot of other things. And these days I feel like a little more well-rounded when I step back into the Dr. Hook thing, you know. In 2014, Universal Music Group, they called me and they said they'd acquired the Dr. Hook catalog from EMI, and they wanted to put out a compilation. And they said, flatteringly, they heard I was the guy to speak to. So I kind of took the reins there, and I put together 2 CDs of music. One of them, CD1, is more of the popular stuff that everybody knows, and CD2 was the funny, rockier stuff, and I put a lot of obscure things on there, hoping it would direct people to the original albums. But while I was doing that, when it came out, I started doing promo for it in television and radio and interviews, and it started to click with me. Like I said, not that it was ever too far in the back of my mind, but it really started to resonate with me that people did take this music to heart. And it was, pardon the well-worn adage, part of the soundtrack to their lives. And people would walk up to me and say, I used to go fishing with my dad, and we'd sing Dr. Hook songs in the car, and he's passed away, and I loved it. And I was right in the middle of their lives. You know, and you can't dismiss that.
I love the fact you embrace it, because so many artists become resentment of what makes them popular, and that's pointless because we love you for it.
But I walked away from it so I wouldn't be.
Right.
Even at the end of Dr. Hook, we were out there 300 days a year, and I remember looking out at the audience through a curtain and thinking, oh, you know, if they would stop buying tickets, I wouldn't have to live like this. And I thought, wait a minute. I'm supposed to be hugging and kissing them for this.
That's funny.
Not resenting it, but it's just, you feel like you're strapped to the front of the tour bus after a while. And I thought if I was ever going to re-embrace this again, then it was going to be a matter of absence makes the heart grow fonder. And I have sung the Hook songs my whole life. I did an awful lot of touring alone with just a guitar. I kind of became a journeyman singer-songwriter, you know, 3 guitars and 40 years worth of songs. And obviously a good bit of that was the Hook material. But it was a guy singing a song. It wasn't the bells and whistles. It was me singing a song. It was me presenting a huge hit the way I heard it or wrote it first. Me and a guitar. And that's when you find out if the material's any good. Not just your career and the glitz and, oh, I remember you from blah, blah, blah. But on the ground, you wind up finding out if this body actually has any bones.
I grew up as a young boy playing Sexy Eyes and When You're in Love with a Beautiful Woman on the radio, and I always wondered what that line meant. When you're in love with a beautiful woman, it's hard. What's hard?
Well, I would imagine that the guy who wrote it it probably thought it would be easier than rhyming the word difficult. But I don't think the fact that it might have meant a couple of things hurt the song at all. Because when we put out a little bit more, we did a television show in America, a mainstream television show, and they made us go in and rechange the words to, and when you've had enough of me. They didn't even want us to say the word body.
Wow.
And I thought, well, geez, can we change it to cadaver?
Just brilliant. And of course, when we look back at your life story, it's extraordinary. There you were, born in New Jersey, and you find yourself now living in Sussex. Why did you decide to make England your home?
It's hard to really trace my own steps. But first of all, when I was 14 and the Beatles came to America, and the Stones and the Hollies and the Zombies and the Animals, I thought, what the heck is going on over there? So I definitely had one eye over here. And then when Hook got here in the early 70s, people really liked the band and embraced us for what we were and seemed to separate the individual people. So they knew the difference between me and the guy with the eye patch because they paid attention. And, maybe it's just the sheer scope of the country, because in America, you could be the biggest success in the world on one coast. And, I always say to be a success in America, you have to set yourself on fire in New York and hope somebody smells the smoke in Los Angeles. So it's it's a different proposition. But England always seemed like they liked me. And so it was always in the back of my mind that I might be here. And we spent a lot of time here anyway because we toured here all the time. And then after 15 years off, I met someone, so it's a matter of the heart as well. And that brought me here. But I just like it. I don't really know the sensibilities here. Maybe because as I got older, I want it to be more manageable. Like I said, I don't want to have to deal with because I can do anything from here, you know. And so it's been more a matter of the heart, but I like it. I just like it. It's obviously not the weather.
No, not the summer we've had. Although the sun is shining today, which is rare.
It is. I have to admit that it is.
Makes a change.
That's nice, because you can't count on it.
No, you can't over here, but what we do have is a passion for great music. I put you up there with the level of the Eagles and people like that. I think your music and your delivery is incredible. I just want to talk to you about some of the people you've worked with, because you've literally met them all, haven't you?
Well, not all of them, and to tell you the truth, you're not sure you want to meet them all, I have met some artists in my life that I wished I hadn't, because I love their music so much, and I went, really? I'm not going to be able to listen to this guy's records.
Oh, no. So disappointing.
So I'm always very mindful when I meet people, and I'm in the middle of their lives, and they're talking to me about, how they used to go fishing with their family and listen to Dr.Hook songs. And I guess on a bad day, you can go, oh, who cares? But I never do. I don't. I really don't, because I know what it means to have something like that means something to you. I mean, I'm a big Beatles fan, and if I went up to Paul McCartney, if I ever had the occasion to meet Paul McCartney and ran up in my exuberance and tried to shake his hand and he went, security, I'd be damaged.
Yeah.
I'd be damaged. So I know if it matters to somebody, it should matter.
It just happened to me recently. I was backstage during a national tour of a world-renowned star and legend, and they said, if you happen to see him in the corridor, don't look him in the eye, and it just ruined everything for me, because that wasn't the guy I thought he was.
Yeah, I don't get things like that anyway. The funny thing about this whole celebrity thing, because it's not, and I'm not being coy at this end of my life, but it's not why I got into this. Right. It wasn't for celebrity, and it wasn't even on my mind. As a matter of fact, if I'm out, and someone will come up and say, can we take a photo for a split second, Alex? I'm thinking, why? And then I go, oh, yeah, that's right. Because it's not on my sleeve. I don't walk into town wondering who's going to recognize me today,
Right.
So, But I know that when people do, even if you're eating, if you're having and they come up and they push your plate aside and say, will you sign this? Now, if somebody's rude, but for the most part, people are really cool. And I know how awkward it is. I got Muhammad Ali's autograph from my kid one time, and I almost got killed by a security guard.
Wow.
So I was like, what are you doing? I thought, I'm sorry, did I get too close to the guy? So I know how it feels.
Yeah.
And when you know how it feels, you make sure you're not the person who makes people feel like that.
I guess it's the difficulty of the business, isn't it? You spend your whole life wanting to be a household name and your music to be memorable, but when you get there, the downside of it is that then you have to give your life over to the public because that's what you've done.
Well, sure. But, and today it's probably even worse because, like I said, when I was a kid, I just wanted to sing.
Yeah.
And I would have sang in bars. I just wanted to sing. It really was a matter of that. And now the rest of it, the celebrity and the any kind of fame or residue that would leave is just all part and parcel of the same thing. But nowadays, if you ask young people what they want to be, they say famous. And you say, well, that's not a noun.
Right. For what?
That's an adjective. A famous what? And it hardly matters. And I'm confused by that. But, you get older, you're confused by a lot of things. There's nobody gets to a certain age that doesn't say, okay, so why are they doing it like that now?
Well, and the other thing is I always say the public won't be fooled. You can have one number one album, but can you get a second? That's the key. Can you have a third and a fourth? That's the testimony of talent is longevity, isn't it?
I think one of the reasons we had any longevity in the Hook catalog, as it were, still stands is because we were lucky enough or clever enough or whatever to choose songs that resonate with people and that they can apply to their own lives. That people will come to me and say, I got married to that song. I love that song, and every time I have a new relationship, it's part of it. And you think, okay, well, that if you're taking it with you now, then I did my job, because If Not You was a song that I wrote that I wrote it and it came out so fast and it was so personal to me that I didn't show it to anybody for a long time because I thought, well, nobody's going to care about this but me. And it happens to be one of our most enduring songs, and so it's really cool. But when you're writing it, you're not right. People come to me and say, oh, your music got me through such a bad time. And I love hearing that. But trust me, Alex, I was not trying to be a hero. I was hoping I was singing in key. You know what I mean? When you're in the studio, I'm just trying to make a good record. I'm not thinking how it's going to impact on people's lives, because you don't even know how it's going to impact on your own, It's later that all this importance gets tagged onto things. But when you're doing it, I remember when Sylvia's Mother went to number one, and CBS Records and Clive Davis were great to us. That record came out and went to number 99 in the States. It fell off the charts, and we were thrilled it got to 99 at that point. Yeah. And Clive worked that record till it got to number one. And, when it went to number one, we were in the studio, and we all kind of hugged each other and teared up, and our next thought was, oh, my God, now we have to have another one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Pressure.
Every accomplishment just makes you think, okay, I have to back this up. Yeah. So it doesn't get easier. Like you said, can you have the second one?
Yeah. And then when you recreate these songs today, you're going back on tour. You'll be in Kings Lynn on September 23rd, 24th in Norwich. Already sold out in Glasgow, but Truro and Worthing and Tunbridge Wells, Edinburgh, Aberdeen, Perth and Shrewsbury, taking you right through until November when the tour ends. When you recreate that sound, I mean, is it like going back to the 70s or is it like sort of watching your granddad in your mind's eye?
Yeah, this music, the way I'm approaching it now, is the band I have is brilliant. And I said to our musical director, John Marr, when we were putting it all together, I said, this music, it's a sense memory. It's like smelling apple pie and remembering your mom's house. Yeah. It brings people to a certain place. So we don't want to play this with a modern slant. We don't want to play this like we've been playing it for so long we're bored and this is the jazz version of it. We want this, because I'm the lead singer, I still luckily sound like that guy, and I thought we can recreate this music. Because, Alex, 4 of the guys have passed away. Yeah. You can't bring certain things back. But the music is just right there to be recreated. And I want it to be, if I'm going to do it, I want it to be right. I want it to sound right. And we did New Zealand, we did Australia, did some sellout tours over there last year. And it seems that I'm doing what people want to hear. And, you know, for a while, I wasn't sure that was what I was here for, you know, to run the projector on everybody's old home movies, as it were. But now, at my age, I think, well, it's not all I do. And if I was ever going to approach this at the level I'm approaching it now, it should be right now. When I sound good and when when people look at me and don't go, who the hell is that? You know, because I'm lucky. I look like an older version of the same guy. I thought, let me embrace it now, because it's one of those things, you know, when you talk to people in later years of their lives and about what they did, you never hear anybody talk about their regrets for things they did. Yeah. It's always what they didn't do.
Right.
And I thought, well, I don't want to be 80 and wondering if I should have given this Hook thing a shot. You know, bringing that back. Believe it or not, I went from shying away from it to thinking, well, if it's going to be done, it should be my responsibility.
You've got a tremendous voice and some iconic, wonderful songs, and you are a legend. I congratulate you on all your success, and thank you so much for talking to me.
I appreciate it, man. I really do. I'm excited about this tour. I really am.
And I can't wait to see you. It begins in September. You're going across the UK, starting in Kings Lynn and ending in December in Preston. Already sold out in some venues, which again is the greatest thrill of all. For people to take their hard-earned money and give it to you to watch you perform for 90 minutes really is a thrill, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the show's actually a bit longer than that, because when you again, and everybody should have this kind of trouble. My biggest problem is what to leave out.
Wow.
You know, because there's a lot of stuff, and I've never played a show when I didn't come off the stage and somebody didn't go, you didn't play my favorite, you know, and they go, oh, well, I'm sorry.
That's crazy.
I'm sorry. But that only means they were paying attention. Yeah. And it's good news. But no, I'm flattered, because the audiences are people of the generation that would have discovered Hook, their kids, and if the timing is right, their kids.
Yeah.
You know, and they're all there, and they're all liking the music. So it must. Sometimes you need to stop judging it yourself and just throw it out there, because basically once you throw it out there, it's not yours anymore anyway, is it?
Listen, congratulations on everything. You're such a huge talent, and thank you for the memories.
Man, I'll see all you guys wherever. Just look for me on the M and the A road.
Yeah, exactly. You're everywhere from September through December. Dr. Hook back on tour. You can find tickets by Googling Dr. Hook Tour 2016. Dennis, thank you for your time.